fixed, water, ruler Mars, keyword I desire, color blue. So once you have your comments around each of them, you can slow any of these things go down and go into them deeper. This is just the introductory class. I'm just trying to show you the degree, what's expected, what could be done for this level of competence. And you're going to get everybody's charts. You should try and work the Excel sheet and get the point totals done. And the rest of the stuff you can work off looking at the chart form. You're not going to write out everything on everybody else's chart. Okay, the main thing is to get yours done so it gets done fully. And I'm going to be doing one person in the class every week. So then Mercury's in house 3, it goes through its categories, it has its aspects that come in and affect it. And we can read you through them, but these same things you can just look at. I can see my Mercury, it's conjunct the Mars, that's a little sarcastic and sharp. It's square Saturn, a little serious. But we're hardworking. Then Pluto's there. Really I've had many mental battles and struggles with what's right and what's wrong. Think this way, think that way. I had to think my own way. And you can see just in the aspect, I know how to read the aspects and walk right into this. But to get that depth first on your own chart, it will spread out into anybody's chart you looked at. And you'll be able to use some of that and make the judgments just looking at the chart. So then when I look at my chart with Venus, Venus doesn't make any aspects to any planets in my chart, but it is conjunct the IC, it squares the ascendant, and opposes the MC. So this is called accidentally dignified because it's right on an angle. But it's a very powerful factor in my motivation. I put all this energy out rising, but when I'm taking, I don't respond very well, but when I do get appreciated or not, it has a huge effect on me because that Venus is the only thing setting and it really affects my motivation. So you slow it down and you'd see the Venus means self-worth, values, being satisfied, attraction, repulsion, magnetism, choices we make, how we evaluate things. Then you can go through each of the, by the time you go through each of the categories and see how it connects and observe it for yourself or that person, you've got an in-depth looking at this and then seeing the aspects. So we got to do this for every planet. So we're doing this in our head all the time. This is why I had to do the worksheets, the sun and the signs and the houses and the aspects. You see how each level works differently. There's a big branch of astrology, I think comes out of the States, but how there's 12 signs, 12 houses, and there's got to be 12 planets, and all the numbers line up. So the first house is like the first sign is like the first planet, and they're all related to each other. And it's a numerological way of looking at things. That's directly opposed. It's not the same as how I'm working with the chart. The signs are the seasons of the year, the houses are the hours of the day. Then you have the moon phases for the month. Then you have the aspects being the stress patterns coming in. And these are all very unique things. And when they're kept unique, they fit together so nicely that you see, it's like the difference between doing surgery with a bread and butter knife or a scalpel. A tool that, if you want to do surgical work, better tools are better. Same with astrology. But having the tools is one thing, being able to refine it so you can use these things. So you can use the information you have, you build up your confidence. So you already have the confidence of having worked for the science. You may have confidence, but you've done it for yourself. You're not going to do that full thing and that full report for anyone else. But you know the depth is there. And when you need to, you go into any point in the chart. Someone's got a much problem with their mom or their moods, or someone's got trouble with their Venus or their Mars. You can go in, and when you're trying to understand the Mars, you go back into these factors because no matter what transit happens, no matter what progress happens, if it's touching a planet in your natal chart, it's going to affect that planet and how that planet works for you. That planet works for you in the way that it is in your natal chart. So here we went up to the sun, and there's two aspects to the sun: square the moon, trine Uranus. So my sun is in the second house, in Libra, in the second house, squared by the moon, and trine Uranus. So I do each of these separately, different databases of information. I keep them separate. I don't try it. You don't have to jump all the pieces of someone together. You don't have to all the sides of somebody in one day. You come through over time planets and houses. So much of all of this, like I said, you've got almost all of this whole second part, stage numbers 16 to 24. These are these interpretations. And we've done them all. I've gone through all the planets. There's not a need to go through everything like this right now. They go through each planet on it. And I won't be doing all these sheets together when I'm looking at your chart. When we're looking at your chart, we'll be using just the main chart. After we do the number totals, we'll go back to the main chart and look through the planets and signs and aspects and look from that. Yeah, there's one more thing I forgot to mention at the very beginning. Just going to jump back to this for a minute. When you're coloring in the chart, it's not shown here in this chart, we'll see it in other ones. If there's a T-square, two squares in opposition, or a grand cross, or a grand trine, three trines, I shade them in. I shade the grand trine in blue, light blue. I shade the red squares in red to show the stress patterns or the harmony patterns, just for those factors. If they form up the T-square or grand cross, four squares and two oppositions, or grand trine, three trines touching each other, I shade those triangles in because they'll stand out in a person's chart. Okay, where are we going now? We're going to go back. Finishing. That's looking at Saturn. We're going to go along here. So each planet is here. This Saturn's making its aspects. Then we have Neptune, Uranus. This is Pluto making its aspects. So each planet has its own. We work through all these in the same way. Then the last five categories of the interpretation is the interpretation of the IC, the ascendant, the MC, and the descendant. The next four, which you've done. We've done the IC and the sign, and we've done the aspects to it. We've done the ascendant and the sign and its categories and so you've done all of these. You just have to clip them together. But it's important to look at it to get a person's orientation into life. So most astrology interprets status, the position you're in, the work you do, the career you have, how you're living up to that or not. But I think the IC is the most important point in the houses, the deepest point, where you're coming from, where your integrity is, where your inner depth is, what motivates you inside. Why bother getting up in the morning? How do you hold yourself together, regardless of where the world is out there? So that motivation will affect how you project your image, will project how much you're going to accomplish, which will reflect how people respond to you and the feedback you get, which will again affect your motivation. Getting good feedback or bad feedback, putting out good energy or bad energy. If you put out bad energy and you expect to get good feedback and you don't, that's a learning curve. If you put out good energy and you get a bad energy back, that's a big puzzle. Usually it doesn't come that way. Usually some good will come back for good going out. So this IC, that's the deepest point. It's important. It's really how the signs in the houses connect and that anchor of how where the world's turning. And it's like, a gyroscope. It's like the foundation of a gyroscope. It's all spinning above it, but it's all centered on this IC, on this point. Just like a gyroscope will hold steady, but there's pressure. If you put your finger in it, you can feel its weight on your finger. You can feel pressure even though it's just spinning. Even if it warps a little bit, it's still holding centered. And the pressure goes down below it. That's like RAC. The whole chart spinning around it. Everything's spinning around your motivation. So what makes you tick? What motivates you? Are you motivated by light or dark forces? Are you on the light side of the force? Or have you fallen to the dark side of the force? Are you angry? Are you judgmental? Like each sign has its good things and bad things that present to that IC, that motivation point. So in my case, the IC is in Scorpio. Oh. So instead of looking through each of these, I'm going to just go back up here and we'll see. My IC is in Scorpio. It makes no aspects to anything in my chart. It's not an act. It's not trine, no squine. It's no trine. It makes a conjunction to Venus. So my Venus is in Sag, but the Scorpio, so the IC is in Scorpio. So my IC, I come out of a violent home situation, abusive, angry, poor, and I was knocked around by my father lots, and but I had to have my own adventures. But I grew up very judgmental about things, and as it happens, I project. I put myself work really hard to try and do things because if I didn't do it really hard, like I had to do it probably away from Dad most of the time, but just had to prove things. But when I did things, he often would put me down or hit me or things. So why bother? If I want to do things, I had to do them anyways and find a way to get around that. But still, that was what I grew up. That was normal to me. I grew up with that. But then I never fit in. I didn't get much feedback from other people. I had my friends, I had my things, but I didn't really integrate into communities and things. Like in school, I was never in a theater group, or I played some sports on teams, but really it wasn't that active socially. But I was very sensitive to whether I was appreciated or liked or not. So if someone didn't like me or something happened that wasn't nice, wow, that Venus and the IC took energy and it really affected my motivation. So when someone's nice to me, I'm ready to do anything for them. If I'm in love with someone, I'll do everything for them, as long as they still like me. But if it changes, I'm not liked, it becomes really hard to do things. I'm trying to fix it to get it back to that. I'm trying to move on to make it like this. So the Venus is, Dane Ridger had an expression. If you have something like Venus down here is like an aching tooth, you have to take care of it. Like for me, it's Venus, and I have to feel okay. I have to, like if I move somewhere, I'm not comfortable to have my paintings and pictures and things up on the wall. Things that I've done to create my own aesthetic in my environment. And that's the Venus down there. I'm motivated by the beauty, by the art, for a lot of my life by beautiful women, or at least what I thought was beautiful women, and or being liked or appreciated. At times, this being Scorpio, I would meet someone, I would be more lustfully driven. And I can't say if it was more lustfully driven than my wives. They have their own story, but certainly on my part, it was lustfully driven. And it took a lot of work in my life, a lot of difficulties and challenges for me to grow out of the depths of lust and anger and judgment, which was motivating me to forgive, to move on, to be healthy, and to do things for no reason, to do things to help people without having to be appreciated, to call out, to evolve this, to not to be just getting out of the gangs and the bullies and away from that. Once I was on my own, that was no longer an issue, but I still had to work on my judgment, my anger about those things. So this is my IC, but my motivation as a student, when I had teachers that liked me, I'd get 100%. When I had a teacher who didn't like me, I would barely pass. Not a question of my intelligence, a question of whether I was being appreciated or encouraged or not.